Hey tankers, and welcome back to World of Tanks with PR154, and today we're in Muravanka and we're in the Tier 8 Chinese premium tank destroyer, the WZ-120-1G FT. Bit of a mouthful, you do get that with some of the Chinese tank destroyers. This has got an interesting combination of characteristics. Quite a lot to like about it. You have quite a high damage per minute. Base damage per minute is around 2,800 hit points a minute. You also have quite a high concealment rating. The concealment rating on this tank is actually not that far behind the likes of Stridsvagn S1 or Cannon Panzer 105, which is interesting, I guess, because you then compare that to some of the Soviet premium tank destroyers, and that they very much have more of a support or assault specialization. Whereas what you get with WZ-121 GFT is something that kind of sits in the middle of all that. So it's quite balanced in terms of its capabilities and has quite a lot to offer. You have 120 millimeter main armament. And 122 millimeters. You've got 440 hit points of average damage. The standard shells penetrate quite well for tier, 248 millimeters of penetration, and you do have quite a solid heat option as well, which you get 310 millimeters of penetration, and that'll keep the tank relevant all the way up to tier 10. The issue is, though, it's not the most accurate weapon, and that's a bit of a common theme across a lot of Chinese tanks, and certainly extends through their tank destroyer lines. While a lot of Chinese tanks are very similar to Russian tanks, there's usually some little quirk along the way, like they have better damage per minute, but they tend to suffer a bit on accuracy and gun handling. By comparison, and that's something that kind of does need to be managed. Like here we are, we're 2 minutes into the game so far. Really haven't achieved much. Was not forecasting a hell of a lot of success here today, but that's all right. You get that from game to game. So yeah, we've got decent penetration, good camouflage rating. The armor's actually pretty good too. It's very much reliant on the slope, but on level terrain, you've got effectively 220 millimeters of frontal slope armor, and then if you're making use of the gun depression to an extent, that'll upduke the slope a little bit, and you get sort of around 250 millimeters of effective armor. The only problem is, though, your gun depression is quite poor, only about 6 degrees. So you do need to pick your positions well. Otherwise, your gun's just going to be kind of shooting at air. Speaking of shooting at air, it's really just air, dirt, and ricochets we've found all game. We've actually loosed quite a few shells down range and achieved absolutely nothing for it. We're a triple donut at this stage. So kind of looking at the cap circle there, thinking, okay, these guys are going to cap out in about 30 seconds, and I'll have achieved absolutely nothing. Which I don't know what people do these days, but in other games that might be the equivalent of having to send yourself on a bit of a nudie run, but we're a family-friendly channel, so we won't be doing that. So not too many opportunities in front of us. Let's have a look at the opportunities behind us, and we'll just miss those shots as well. It's clearing out the building so we can get a line of sight on the T26E4. Note we haven't actually been spotted at this point in time by the T26E4, so that was helpful. Unfortunately, not enough to save our Granatenwerfer Panther. We finally managed to get some purchase on the Tier 7 IS, and the 7032-122 coming around the corner, looking for opportunities on the side of its turret. No, catch some lower frontal plate. Again, another bounce, possibly down to the dispersion, but at least we're getting solid side of turret, or aren't we? It's really not enjoying much success with this tank here. Good job we're not on a sales pitch. Managed to get our third penetrating hit for the game after firing, my goodness, must be at least 11 shells I've fired so far, and only just managing our third penetrating hit. We've got the side of the SU-100M1, so there's our first kill for the game, and we're being run down by this Jagdpanther. So shot into the lower frontal plate. This leaves it in a bit of a one-shottable position for us with our 440 millimeters of penetration. Copped a bit of damage to the gun there, but nevertheless, another shot into the upper frontal plate sends it back to the garage for our second kill of the game. Slight risk of rain from artillery, and enemy vehicles popping over the top. You see we're struggling to use our 6 degrees of gun depression there, but we're able to get a penetrating hit square on the front of the 7032-122. Ignoring the Comet for a second because the IS was on a fairly low hit point position there. And there we go. Very meaty hit into the Comet. It's now one-shottable for us. We're also one-shottable for it with only 104 hit points left in the tank, and we're able to knock it out for our fourth kill of the game. And that's all our standard shells completely expended. We've only got the premium shells left, noting that there's a T26E4 and 2 SPGs left on the enemy team. This turned out to be quite a tight game. So lining up on the side of the T26E4, with the heat shells, it's probably not the best shell to be doing that, because you're just looking at tracks or all that spaced armor on the side of T26E4's turret. By all indications, we'll land a penetrating hit there, and we have been able to do so, but we did run a bit of a high risk of failure there. Now, you'll see there's we've been able to develop a few ticks here on a mission I'm currently working on, Union-5 Plenty of Shells, where the primary objective was to land 12 penetrating hits in the course of the battle, which we'd really struggled to do earlier in the battle and continuing to struggle to do. We need to land 2 more penetrating hits this game in order to satisfy the primary mission condition. The secondary we'd actually been able to satisfy by destroying 3 enemy vehicles. So we really need to penetrate this last shot. We've fixed ourselves because we were stunned by Artie, and then that was our 5th kill of the game and our 12th penetrating hit, and we've thus been able to satisfy both the primary and secondary mission conditions for Union-5, Plenty of Shells for Everyone, for the Chimera Personal Campaign. So we're just down into cleanup phase now. There are 2 artillery pieces that are left on the field, and so it's going to be a game of hunt the Artie at this point in time. We have switched away from our high explosive anti-tank shells, and we've gone to the just the box standard high explosive. That's all we need. I probably wasn't doing the best job of following the Artie traces. I knew there was at least one enemy self-propelled gun in this area. Suspected that there might have been one relocating into there, but no, as it turns out they were adopting a fairly static position. The M12 has knocked out our Super Hellcat, and that enemy Granatenwerfer Panther has just been knocked out by our Lorraine 155-50. This just leaves the M12. At this point in time, we are jonesing for a Top Gun medal, just to top off what's been a pretty satisfying game for us with that personal campaign mission knocked over with honours. So we're closing from one direction, the T20 is closing from the other, so we should be able to take this one if the M12 is holding position. We have to be really careful when we engage it, though. We'd be reliant on the gun. We wouldn't be able to ram kill, because M12 is actually quite sturdy. A lot of American SPGs are quite sturdy and durable to a ram. We're only going to get one shot at this, and unfortunately we loosed it a little bit prematurely. Can we get it in time? And there we are. That's our 6th kill of the game, and will be a Top Gun medal as well, topping off a A game that started out pretty poorly, but ended on a high note. Let's go and take a look at those results. So for our efforts there, that was an Ace Mastery badge on the WZ-120-1G FT. Particularly happy with that result in that the WZ-120 is actually my worst win rate premium tier 8 vehicle. So it's one I've been playing a fair bit, trying to polish that turd and get the win rate up a bit. And I guess a result like this every now and then, it's quite encouraging that we've come to grips with the tank. So we'll just try to go onwards and upwards from there. We've picked up 2 Epic Battle Heroes medals here between Top Gun for knocking out 6 enemy vehicles and the High Calibre medal for accounting for at least 20% of the total hit point pool of enemy vehicles that game. We've picked up a few badges of merit as well between Bruiser, where we've damaged enemy vehicle modules or crew members at least 5 times in the course of the battle. We've got the Hand of God medal for surviving and winning the battle, having received damage from at least 4 different enemy vehicles. We've got the Duelist medal for destroying at least 2 enemy vehicles that have caused damage to us in turn, and the Fire for Effect medal for basically causing more damage than the hit points of the vehicle. And that usually goes hand in hand with the High Caliber medal. Having a look at the team scores, we did have a top by XP placement. Not too far behind us, however, was E20 Long in the Super Hellcat. Special mention on the enemy team to the Object 703-2. They'd done quite a good job at working the cap circle, and it even managed to clear it out somewhat. And they were joined by the Tiger 2 as well. That seemed to be where a lot of the activity was for the enemy team, and they certainly played to the best of their ability. It really was quite a tight result when you get towards the end. Having a look at the detailed report, and this is where things get a little bit sad. We'd fired 28 shots. We'd managed to hit with 3/4 of them, but we just were not finding those penetrations at all. So we were a little bit worried at the front end of the game when we have a personal mission objective where we've got to land 12 penetrating hits in the course of the battle. But we finally got there in the end. Better late than never, and quite a pleasing result to finish on. It was a reasonably profitable game for us. We did have a bit of a ammunition bill, having completely expended our standard shells and had to dive into our premium ammunition towards the end there, and to not great effect on the side of the T26E4 Patriot. The T26E4 Super Pershing either. So it probably wasn't the best shell for the job. If I still had AP, I would have been firing AP at that instead of heat, because the spaced armor and the track form was just eating the shots to no effect on the vehicle. So that's that one. I was pretty happy with that. And if you've got a replay that you're happy with and you'd like to share with the community, please reach out over Discord or any of the links below, and we'll do our best to sort you out. If you'd like to look at the guidelines for community submissions, they are in the About section of this channel. In the meantime, take care out there.